Good morning, good afternoon. We are global mostly every Monday and Tuesday morning. My name is Dr. Tova Goldfein. This is TMS Roundtable Global. And I'm going to hand it over to my co-host and wonderful friend, Rose Hoy from Melbourne, Australia.
I like the way you say Melbourne.
Melbourne. Let's get out our globe and see how far away we are and look how close we are.
Exactly. Now, this morning, ladies and gentlemen, we have another beautiful guest who has graced our table, and that is Arun Nijhawan. Now I can't say it properly. Say it for me. Nijhawan.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes. Okay. Hoey is bad enough, but Anyway, this wonderful gentleman has actually, through his recovery, has started a health service, which he will talk about as well. But what we want us to talk about is the fact that he was able to turn around his concept of his pain and how it is an emotional issue, and to help you, our watchers and our listeners and our readers and our viewers, to see that it's possible for you to actually turn that around. Some people, it's a difficult situation. For others, it's sort of a click. So when you don't have that click, be aware that people like Arun didn't get it overnight, but he worked on it and he worked on it. And with the help of others, he came around and he could see his life from a stronger, sort of different angle, an angle that, his efforts and his work is worthwhile. And now he's actually set up a program. He has an app, and he has a 10-week program for people to help them recover from their chronic pain. So very welcome this morning from Melbourne, an afternoon from Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you so much. We're really rounding out the globe from three different dots.
Perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm grateful for Don Sarno and I'm grateful for the internet.
I like the look thing. Yeah, it's not reliable though, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, tell us about your story, like your original story about having the shoulder pain, the back pain, etc., etc. Because in a way, it's sort of like a burden, isn't it? When you have back pain, being burdened, or foot pain, being burdened by something.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about that and how you saw your burden and how you released it and let it go?
Yeah. It's funny you use that word. Actually, I was just talking to someone about the movie The Lord of the Rings, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with and a lot of other people, and how Frodo Baggins has to carry this burden
That's
of the
right.
ring. And it's something that his companions are there with him, taking him to kind of this final place where he can let it off. But it's not ever something that he completely gets rid of, nor is it something that it changes him along the way. And so he goes through this journey, this process. And the beginning of my journey, I guess, with that burden started many, many, many years before I developed chronic pain. And I didn't realize that those were connected at the time, of course. I had a lot of illness when I was a kid, and I'm happy to talk more about that. And then when I was about 24, I was very active. I was living in California at the time, playing a lot of sports. I was hiking, I was skiing in the winters, and I used to play basketball a lot. And after one evening basketball game, I got home. And when I got home, I was having these shooting pains down both legs and severe, severe back pain. I was in tears. And I was living with a few friends at the time. And a lot of them actually saw me go through this journey. But that was the beginning of it. I naturally went to the doctor the next day. And the doctor said, well, you probably got injured and you should go see a physical therapist. And feel free to put ice. And then he gave me this muscle relaxant medication called baclofen. And I remember leaving the doctor's office and in San Francisco, I didn't have a car. I usually would bike around, but of course, since I was not feeling too well that day, I took the bus back from the doctor's office. I picked up this medication and I took one, and I was walking back from the bus stop to my house, and I decided to just take a pause at this bench in front of a park, and I fell asleep on the bench. This medication was very helpful, but also incredibly strong.
Like, how fast did it cause that reaction?
In like 15, 20 minutes, and I just
20
got very
minutes.
drowsy, and it helped with the pain immensely. You know, the spasming went down and all of that. But I mean, and so that kind of story always sticks with me. And, you know, eventually I made it home and went to physical therapy, the first appointment that I could get. And this was actually at a physical therapist clinic in San Francisco, and they would work with the baseball players. So I picked the top of the line one. I said, I'm going to get better. I need to have the right, you know, support. And I was in so much pain that actually my father flew across the country to be with me, and he was with me in that first appointment. And I remember they did some stretching and some icing, and I felt quite a bit better after I left that first day. And so then I went back and I went back, and the pain would get a little bit better, and then it would just go right back to where it was, or it would get even worse. And I did physical therapy for 6 months to a year, and then the pain started to spread
6
to
months to a year of physical therapy?
Yeah.
Many of our patients have.
And for nothing
Years.
happened to you, no physical injury, no bullet, no war wound. This was just playing basketball after a bunch of years. I'm just saying, like, physically, nothing.
Yeah, so it's possible, and I can talk about the MRI that I got. That, you know, that caused a bit of a disc bulge, or that caused a bit of a herniation. I would not say that that's a major injury, but that might have caused a bit of acute stress to the body. That
Well, wait a second. I just want to clarify that for the listeners. You think that you might have herniated on the basketball court? Or you don't
I'm
know?
not really sure. You know, I was told different things, and I basically have two data points. But it started hurting after that day, and that I got an MRI a couple months later, and you know,
Could I interject for a moment and tell our viewers that that basketball trip was virtually the straw that broke the camel's back for you,
Yeah.
Point.
wasn't it? Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you guys clarified that, and I just bring in these aspects of the story because at that moment, or you know, at that time, this is how I was thinking about it. I was thinking, well, you know, the pain started at that point, and I got the MRI, and this is what it showed. And I will definitely round out all this story by talking about what came later and some of the. Oh, we have our first comment.
Well, I specifically asked about the MRI because we all are walking around with disc, and if I take Ed an MRI, they're just going to come up and say, and that's the reason, but we know it's not now, and it's very important to
Absolutely,
clarify.
yeah. So, if you look at my discs today, they look the same, and I have no pain. I hate to jump to the story, but and that kind of started a journey of, well, physical therapy is not helping, the medication's not really feeling great. I had seen a surgeon, and I thankfully did not go down that route for myself. And that was partially because I had been so familiar with the medical system. And so I'll talk a little bit about the straw that broke the camel's back. Started many years before I had a kidney disease when I was a kid, and that caused me a lot of anxiety and a lot of shame and a lot of other emotions when I was young.
Yeah, Bright's disease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had cancer twice.
Whoa.
And other things that really just along the way built up a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of rage,
Wow.
other emotions that a 17-year-old doesn't know how to deal with. And at the time when the pain started, I was actually doing my first startup company, and it was very intense and very stressful. And
Could I hold you on that one for a moment?
Yep.
Tell us about perfectionism.
we just met today, but I feel like you know me very well.
Excellent. Roses from the Mossad.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a great question. I was always, so for me, there's two things that I think contribute to it or fuel it. One is I had some examples in my life of people who were successful, people who were really good at what they do, and really good human beings. And I always looked up to them, and I looked up to that. And I wanted to be the same. And then at the same time, I had all of these other things going on at the side, that all these illnesses and that were really dominating kind of how I was showing up. And that kind of fueled this thing of me not feeling good enough, me wanting to feel better, and this kind of internal cycle of what do I need to do to be better, to get praise from others, to feel like I am successful, when I had all these things that were completely out of my control at the time, that were making me feel like I had no control, actually.
Yes.
Wow.
It's like a loop, isn't it? That
Yeah.
keeps going round and round. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Wow. Yeah. So you're doing your first startup company, and in the meantime, you're playing basketball, and you virtually collapse, or your body collapses on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so the journey was then physiotherapy. What do you call it?
physical therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you don't call it that, do you? We call it that. PT, you call it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, for about a year. And then did you get disgruntled with that or not? Or did you keep thinking that they were going to cure you?
Oh, I got pretty disgruntled. Yeah. And I remember I would leave work, go to the PT's office, come back to work. And I remember thinking that the trips to and from were aggravating my physical symptoms more than I was getting relief from the
Good
office.
observation back then. Good observation.
Yeah.
So
What else?
Well, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
They inconvenienced you. You
Yeah.
felt, yeah. And you knew that the result was not going to improve, didn't you? So that annoyance or that aggravation in you would have been heightened. And you probably left a project on your desk or wherever that was incomplete, and your mind was probably on that project as you went to the office. So that meditation type feeling wasn't actually lifted in you, was it? Because further down the track, hopefully you'll talk about the fact that you are a meditator now, and how that balances your life, or people can call it breathing or whatever they like, but
yeah,
it's that gives you that little gap, isn't it, to find out who you really are in meditation.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had never tried meditation at this point in my life. I grew up in a Hindu household, so I was familiar with the idea of what meditation is, but I had really no idea what it actually was, and I probably still have no idea.
Well, so basically, you're in physical therapy for a year, not getting better, but following along because the doctor said this is what you need to do. Then what changed? What happened? Who came into your world? What occurred at that point?
So that was year one. This part of the story arc is 5 years or 4 years.
Wow.
So maybe between year like 1 and year 3 was hopelessness, despair, kind of resignment to my situation, and trying to make the most of it. I'm a very positive person, as you probably can tell now, and a lot of people who know me would say that. And so it was this internal battle of, okay, I guess I have to start to learn how to read and enjoy doing things from my bed. I stopped going into work as much, and I was spending more time working horizontally
Whoa.
and started saying no to a lot of activities, no to a lot of friend requests, to go out and do things, and life just became
You
chaos.
were accepting it, but you were, tell us, you were accepting it, but you were angry, you were fearful, you were sad.
Oh, very much so. I mean, my identity was my movement and my activity and my sports and all of these things, which was tough to try and switch that overnight, or tough to come to terms with this idea that all of a sudden you cannot do all these things that bring you so much joy.
So
And
hard, isn't it, Rose, for people to really, like, we try to help people love their condition so they can go through it. And I don't want to say it like underestimating people's pain, but it is kind of accepting. And I don't know how everybody does it, but you have to accept where you're at in order to move on. And like
yeah,
Rose will share about, like how you have to accept your feelings and really understand your feelings and understand your patterns.
Yeah. Anyway, you've had 2 bouts of cancer as well. In that period or later?
previously, before that.
Okay. As a teenager.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So now we're in this journey of this gap where you're no longer going to the office. You're actually working from home. Aren't computers amazing?
Yeah. Yeah, they can really enable so many things.
That's right. Yeah. So what was the turning point? Did someone advise you? Did you see a Sano book? Did someone give you one? Or what was the light bulb moment, put it that way, that you thought, yes, I need to change direction?
So in that period of despair, every so often I would, Google and look up and maybe get a little bit of hope, and it would go nowhere, and I'd kind of come back to the place I was in. This time, and again, this is about 4 years into it, so I'm skipping a lot of details and, but things that other guests have come on here and probably shared as well. A colleague of mine who had migraines actually recommended Sarno and Curable, and this was many years ago. I think I was one of their first 100 customers.
Wow.
And interestingly enough, this colleague of mine actually said those things didn't work for him, but I was talking to him, and he suggested that I pick it up. So I went home, and that began kind of this journey of gaining a little more hope, a little bit more hope, a lot of skepticism, but a little bit more hope, and starting to just do more research around mind body medicine and around Sarno and all the people that have gotten better and are kind of continuing on this message, like you both. And the aha moment, there were a few. One was hearing stories of other people like myself. And there were details that they spoke of that were so similar. And I remember just really picking on that and saying, wow, I've never heard this from any other physician. I've never heard this from anyone else. This sounds like me to like the 10th degree.
I have to keep saying, because I always remember Danny Fagan's comment, oh, the book was written for me, and I didn't even have to highlight anything. Because the whole book was all about her. And it's unbelievable. Everyone says that.
Yeah. And I read myself in the stories, and then I came about some of the research about how there was a study done on meditation, MBSR, compared to usual care for back pain. And I was living with a group of very good friends at the time, and they're still very good friends of mine. And I remember going out into the living room of our house, and they had seen me through a lot of this journey. And I said, I just came about this study that said meditation can help back pain. And I felt very hopeful, but I didn't know how to convey how any of that actually made any sense. Because to me, it didn't make any sense intellectually. I was just maybe shifting slowly and emotionally at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the other issues all across the board. How could this back pain have anything to do with resting? And yet it's so obvious, isn't
What
it?
does breathing have to do with my pain?
Yeah. And the more I, got into that, and the more I got into the science, again, I don't know if I could say I understood it then. And, what we teach at Menda is very much the science, and I now have such a deep understanding in it. But then it just really opened maybe a slight door that went ajar for me to walk through. And I started to meditate for the first time in my life. And I was not doing anything crazy. It was body scans. And I remember one time I was doing a body scan. This is probably about a month in of starting to sit in meditation. And I was doing a body scan, and this pain that was so strong, it was in my back, shifted to my legs as I was looking at it. And I stopped, and I was like, that is not supposed to happen. There's something going on here that I don't understand, but my view of what that thing was, I think, had shattered a little bit, and it left room for something else to take its place.
Nice. Wow.
And
Nice.
from there, I mean, meditation has become a huge part of my life, and I'm happy to talk about that. I've done Vipassana, like the 10-day silent retreat, and
oh yes, I know lots of people. I keep going to book into that, and I love meditation, but I don't know about
the silent ones. That's how. That's. I'm making a note of that to have
and fasting
about just that, because it's really something. Not talking is really, think about that, Rose. There's a going inside when we don't talk that doesn't happen. That's like, it's fabulous. Very interesting.
Tova, you're introduced to your self-talk, though. That's the beauty about it, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So go ahead. You got us at the edge of our seat. You're a very good storyteller, and you've got these details about falling asleep on the bench and everything.
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to have told the story a few times since then. So
you had a little breakthrough in the meditation. Your body spoke to you.
Yeah. And I said, I'm going to do this every day. This is going to change my life, and I'm going to do this every day. And like many of the people that we work with, I probably did it once a week from that.
You're so honest. I love that.
In the spirit of being honest and vulnerable, that's the truth. And but it did kickstart my belief that something else was possible. And I remember shortly after that, I went on I won't even call it a hike, but I went on a walk with some friends, and I said yes. And in California, people do this every weekend. They go on kind of hikes, and it's such a beautiful area. And I'd been saying no for years. And I said yes, and I brought these walking sticks, and there's a picture of me somewhere with these walking sticks, and I felt ridiculous. And I got to the end of this couple-mile walk, actually, and I thought, did I even need these walking sticks? Like, did this help me at all? Didn't really have any answers, but I was just gaining a lot of confidence in what was possible for myself. And that maybe led to more meditation. It's hard to remember exactly what order it all went in. But slowly, it was a little bit more, adding a little bit more. And I remember, for me, one of the final frontiers was I was an avid, very big cyclist when I was in my teens. I actually had gone on a couple 100-mile trips,
Wow.
and I thought, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to bike again. So it took me about a year to get back on my bike, and I went.
Tell me, yeah, Arun, was that more about a confidence thing that you didn't trust yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet you trusted yourself in business.
Good one, Rose. Excellent.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting?
It
You
is.
know, like, yeah, because we notice that there's always a strength in people, and they can put all their energy into that particular area, but have no confidence
Yeah.
in their real life. It's
And
I
your
always find
body,
that fascinating.
your body healed from cancer twice and a kidney disease. So your body did heal.
Yeah.
But that pain somehow took you on a different road.
Well, for me, I think the best way I can explain it is when you have a lot of data or evidence that you should not do something, or that every time you've tried to do that thing, it kind of reinforces this storyline that don't do that thing. It becomes pretty hard to undo it, or it just takes time, and it takes a lot of courage and confidence. Maybe thankfully on the business side of things, I had never tried and failed at that, so I just threw myself into it.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to point out that there's often very, very great strengths in some people, and to actually be aware that whole idea that I can't do it, I can't get out of bed, I can't put my 2 feet on the ground, you know, that idea, or throw my foot over the saddle and get on that bike. You know.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I think in this journey, what's been beautiful about it is it continues to bear fruit. And I went backpacking a month ago, and I had 50 pounds on my back. So
you're just about 50 pounds, so there you go. That's amazing. So yeah, but like wait, step by step, because we have some listeners, and I think it's like, so you started biking, and then the pain just left. The doctor said you're some kind of spontaneous remission. Like, what? Give us a little bit of that before we answer questions.
So the physical pain, the discomfort that was there, was dissipating, you know, from maybe month 1 after I started to learn about all this to month 6, I would say. At the month 6 mark, I was meditating a few times a week, and I was really kind of getting into it and getting into my body. The biking didn't come until a year after that. So even though my symptoms were gone, I was still caught in these storylines of I can't do this, I can't do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when the symptoms come up, when you felt anxious, or you felt excited, or you felt scared?
I'm sure they would. I don't think I even had enough awareness at that time. And something that, you know, I know now is how when you go through difficult life experiences in kind of service of your protection, survival, you separate from your body. And so even having awareness of some of these connections, I was just starting to build that awareness. I was almost just starting to walk, so to speak. And so I can pull out some stories, but you know, when the symptoms would come up or not come up at that time was even pretty hard to identify.
To make the connection. Yeah. Well, that's pretty normal, actually, isn't it, really? Because that insight, it's building that insight that's so important in a way, to see the connection of, yes, you know, what happened, you know, when you first got your back pain, you know, did you have a breakup with a girlfriend, for example? Or, you know, that people can't sort of see that those sort of things have come up, or that, you know, you've forced yourself to be, you know, an elite athlete, and, you know, that forcing of yourself to be that type of athlete is then going to bring up the pain to help you back off, I suppose, in many ways. Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, or fortunately, I didn't have a miraculous like moment where everything went away or everything shifted. But what was really kind of amazing for me is a lot of the pressures and life situations that were causing the symptoms in my body, I was able to start to face those one by one.
Wow.
And so for me,
Beautiful.
one of the biggest ones was my relationship to work. And um, at some point, and this was actually a big turning point in my life, I was coming back from a trip with these same friends. And actually, I talk about Sarno and I talk about meditation, but I was in this really loving environment. And that's
Mm.
one really powerful aspect that is definitely part of this healing story. Is I was with actually a group of friends who um, are very emotional, very vulnerable, and we actually all play in a band, or we did for a couple of years, called the Emotionally Vulnerable Brown Men, because two of
I
um,
love
because they just really speak their heart, and I started to learn how to do that. I started to feel safe in this
it.
group of people
Whoa.
doing that, and how powerful that was for me to actually start to vocalize, hey, I'm
Yeah.
feeling this, I'm feeling that. Um, and there was this moment where we had all taken a trip and we were coming back, and I was speaking with one of them about work and kind of how I was feeling about it. And I went into the office next day and I gave my 2-week notice.
Yay.
Whoa.
So, the symptoms themselves is one aspect of this, but my relationship to fear and my relationship to life and to work and to my purpose, and there's so many other aspects of this that had tension or conflict at that time. It's just really unlocked and
So I want to say this on the record because I know there are people that Rose and I meet, and it's just heartbreaking because they know what they have, all the information in their head, and it doesn't come easy to them to accept or what you said or to see it a different point of view or to you sound like you became so self compassion, you became understanding of yourself, you became connected like you said, and maybe you can share an insight to some of the people that are not getting there so easy, that are not, because you had a 5-6 year however run with it, and now you're on the other end of it. But what could you share that really, because you're meeting people also that are getting stuck and putting up their own walls and not their bridges, they're not able to put bridges, they're putting up their walls and not on purpose. It's So how can you share a little about that?
yeah. Well, the first thing that I'll say is this is still something that's very present in my life today as I continue to step into more and more of the things that I want that bring a lot of fear. My symptoms will flare up, and they're with me in many different ways, and they're always on my side.
Wow. That's an amazing line. They're with me and they're always on my side.
in
Beautiful.
ways that sometimes kind of are counterintuitive or a little unorthodox. And so what I would say to someone who's learned a lot, who's going through this, is take a look at what's in your life. If you're not sure what might be causing it, what in your life is hurting? And that's something Dr. Les Aria always says, which I think is such a profound question. The next is get into a group of people that can help you feel safe.
Excellent.
And
that's not easy.
Yeah, and that's why we started Menda, is for this purpose. And it's all group based. And what I've witnessed of people being able to share in a group of people that are like-minded, that understand them, that are living a very similar life. I'm thinking about one group in particular we had where I think out of 9 people, 7 of them were caregivers of different sorts. And they were all carrying this immense burden and couldn't share it with anyone. And then they got into this group together, and about 6 or 7 weeks in, some of the sharing that was going on was incredible. And it was things that I, as a facilitator, I was just stepping back and saying, I have no idea really what you all are going through. And they were just really cultivating this energy, and that started to show such like powerful shifts.
I want to interrupt like I usually do and just say, and it's because we can't expect our family to do that for us. That's the Buddha. Buddha saying no expectations. We cannot expect that from our family. And we hope to expect that from our therapeutic process. But more important is the people you're spending time with. And if it's not at work, then create like what you're saying. Because I think we get disappointed a lot because it's not our family usually.
Right. And a lot of people don't have access or don't have those people naturally around them. And that's really hard. And the first thing that I would always say to someone is that is really, really hard. That is not your fault. And your symptoms that you're experiencing are protecting you from that. But it's this automatic process that's happening. It's nothing you did or didn't do. And the shift to a life environment that is healing is such an important thing in addition to the knowledge. But we often think we can do it ourselves. And I'm the first one to be guilty of that. Even today, I will not ask for help for most things until I really, really need it. But get yourself into a group. Get yourself to a practitioner who can help. Get yourself to a coach. Ask for help, because reading a book and trying to build a house, some people can do that. Most people can't read a book and build a house. You need a carpenter and a plumber and an electrician.
Could I just add into that, please? That it's not that easy to ask for help. And it's a pattern that's been built up all our lives for people with somatic pain. And we have to face that to actually go out and ask for help. So that's probably the first thing to face, that, yes, I feel independent. I am independent. I pride myself on being independent, but this time I have to reach out. So I think that recognizing that sort of pride in independence, that you haven't said it like that, but that's how I hear patients say it. That, you know, I like my independence. I don't like to go to anyone. I like to be self-sufficient, but somehow you've got to get through that crack. And I just want to point that out, that yes, you know, going to like-minded people, finding them is difficult enough. And going to therapy, you know, people will say, but, you know, I should be fixed in an hour or 2 hours. But their lifetime could be, you know, I don't know, 40 years of doing the same behavior or whatever, or reaction, and then they expect to get it over and done with within an hour, and it's sort of unfair on themselves. I just wanted to sort of point that out, that
beautiful
moving into that space of going to people, of recognizing that there's areas of your life that you're disappointed with, and then areas of your life that you can actually share with like-minded people. It's a lovely, lovely concept. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So where was I in the story?
Oh,
sorry.
You're back. Well, first of all, the friends that you had this emotional band.
Yes, and then you resigned from your job.
Yeah.
So what happened then?
So now you're sleeping on a bench and you don't have a job, but you're happy and you're not in pain.
I hope it wasn't as miserable as that. Well, I was asking myself, and you know, what am I afraid of? And I had actually listed out 5 things that I wanted in my life, and work ended up being something that was a barrier to getting to those things.
Oh, wow.
And one of them
That's insightful.
Yeah, and I was able to kind of look at those two side by side and say, why am I, what is getting in the way of actually not doing these things? And I had this friend who was kind of coaching me through the process. And one of those things was to take this transformation that I've had, this insight around mind-body medicine and the mind-body connection, and share it with other people. And my work background is in digital health, which means how do we use technology to help healthcare? And I was living in San Francisco at the time. And so the first thought is obviously, can we build an app? Can we build a website? And I'm not a engineer. I'm not a software engineer. But I started to learn how to do some of that stuff so I can put up an app. And
Wow.
I was just doing it in the evenings in my free time and kind of as a passion project, learning how to do that, recording some of the educational content and the lessons. And this app was called Remedy. And
Remedy, good word.
that actually began, so I just want to share one kind of really amazing aspect of this. I had put this out on the App Store after a couple of months of working on it and developing it. And, people started to find it, I guess, by searching on the App Store. And for me, that was pretty amazing because I thought, wow, people are actually going and like checking this out and seeing the content. And then I kind of, again, was slowly getting more and more confidence. And I met this really wonderful physical therapist in San Francisco. Her name is Amber Richard. And she had put out this hour-long video on the neuroscience of pain. And so I messaged her and I said, hey, I live in San Francisco. You do too. Do you want to host an event? And so we booked an event space and we advertised and we got the word out. And we organized this small event, about 20 people, 25 people. But for me, I had never organized an event before. I'd always sit behind a desk and behind a computer. And this was about an hour and a half long, or 2 hours long, and she did the pain science component. And then we had a therapist who came and did some mindfulness. And I promoted this event to all the people who had downloaded the app. And one of those people was a man named Dr. Les Aria. So out of the 200 people who had downloaded this, not that many, right, was this guy who has been in this space for 20 years now. He's living in Sacramento, which is, a stone's throw away from San Francisco where I was. And he responded to my email saying, I love what you're doing. Keep it up. I would love to attend, but I cannot, but we should connect and we should talk on the phone. And for me, this was such a huge boost as someone who had no idea what I was doing. And it was almost the universe kind of sending me a signal in the form of this individual and this encouragement to say, keep going and let's talk. And him and I actually spoke for about a year after that, off and on. And then a year later, we decided to start Menda.
Wow. Amazing.
Good friends. Yeah.
Amazing. And did he know David Hanscom at the time? Because they met at some point down David's path. Because he doesn't mention Les in his book, Back in Control. Les was not mentioned. And, I know that he's mentioned now all over David's work. So that obviously was after. So you met Les in the beginning of Les's work.
Yeah. Well, he's been doing this work at Kaiser in California for 18 years.
What is Kaiser? I keep hearing that. What is Kaiser?
It's a health system. So it's a hospital system. Yeah. And anyone who has worked with him or gone to any of his workshops or anything like that knows he's a phenomenal clinician. And so, Scotty said, woohoo. Yes, Dr. Les Aria. Yeah. So I immediately, when we spoke on FaceTime, and I remember he was in his bedroom, and I was like, who is this guy who's FaceTiming me, and just his energy and passion. And so we've been now working on this for 2 years, along with another really good friend of mine. And I want to just take a little sidebar and tell this story because this is another amazing story. this very good friend of mine who I had known since age 1, and I should have prepared. We have a slide where the two of us are playing tug of war in his backyard when we're 2 years old. And we're on the same team, though I think we're pulling in opposite directions as 2-year-olds. And him and I actually started the first company together now 10 years ago. And I didn't think that we were going to do another one. And he actually started to develop a lot of irritable bowel syndrome symptoms for a couple of years. It was very, very severe. And he had tried all sorts of things. And I guess we'll have to get him on here next. And him and I started talking a few years into his journey. And he started to do some expressive writing and really confronting a lot of emotions and things that were going on in his life. And he's now back to eating everything. And
Whoa.
2 weeks after that, he called me up and said, I know you've been thinking about this pain thing. Like, can I join you? And the three of us got together on a call, and it was
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Unbelievable.
So what's his role now in it?
So him and I are both focused on, I guess, the business side of things. He's a great leader, and his role previously was a product manager, which means someone who understands engineering, someone who understands how to build apps and things like that, and design, and to kind of take into account what people who are using it want and need. So he's focusing on designing the program with less. I'm focusing on outreach and patient coordination, and some of our partnerships and things like that. And now we have all these amazing advisors, and it's a big team effort. Oh, we got a long message.
Yeah. At some point, Cheryl gets up in the morning and joins us from Queensland.
And they've got terrible floods at the moment. So Cheryl,
wow.
I hope you're.
So we'll just.
She's on top of a mountain, so she's safe.
For us. I'll read a little bit of it. You are right, Rose. The first step that is hard for people is to admit and say, I need help. So easy for people to go to a doctor for physical stuff. We are so caught up in a pattern and cycle. But I found being on the other side it's easy now. So Cheryl healed herself with the help of Rose and a lot of TMS insights. And from all the itises you can name, she had them. Every itis.
Amazing.
And so she comes and she don't fear people. It's 4 letters. Use it to say face, embrace, accept, respond. Amazing. Yeah, really. Thank you, Cheryl. Always love seeing you here. So I would like, we have a few minutes left because I know you have to go because it's the middle of your day, Arun. Can you share what's special about Menda, and is it the group energy? Because that's also what was put forth in the love, the
Love heals.
Love heals, Rose. And also, we met another woman who was talking, like, it's really important, the community. And Michael Galinsky talks about it, how important that is, the connection and, the PBDA and these groups. There's something bigger going on with these support people, with these people. Can you address that?
Yeah. And if you're familiar with Stephen Porges's work, and Les and David talk about co-regulation all the time. So there's a biological understanding of this now.
There's my attachment theory back.
It is.
But what I've observed just firsthand is that when we can get into a environment in which we feel safe, then we can actually have confidence to face some of the things that are happening in life or in our body, because those things are really scary. And so Menda is different in a few ways, and I'll try and be short because I could talk about this forever. I love the work, and we've put a ton of thought and care and compassion into it. The first is that it is group-based, and when you join a group, we take you through a very structured process. That structure is facilitated by 2 people, So you get a lot of attention, and the structure takes you through a little bit of knowledge. So for 2 weeks, we also do something called SSP, which is Stephen Porges's Safe and Sound protocol. So we start people with actually audio vagal stimulation to get them in a place where they're actually more receptive and feeling better. Their mood improves. And then from there, we incorporate, again, principles from a lot of the phenomenal work that's happening from PRT and somatic tracking, pain reprocessing. We incorporate principles from emotional awareness and expression therapy, Howard Schubiner's work, and Mark Lumley. And I mean,
And
so
Ellen Abbott's, Dr. Ellen
yeah,
Abbott.
yeah, exactly. So amazing, amazing work. But what we've tried to do is really structure it. So you get a 160-page workbook.
Wow.
If you're doubtful in your diagnosis, we'll connect you with a physician who can help clarify that. We work very closely with Dr. David Schechter, who sees a lot of our participants. If you're in a really stressful environment, we actually make this very much skills-based. So a lot of people have a lot of knowledge, but then what do you do when you have a really tough conversation with your spouse? And we teach you a 1-minute intervention on how to use that, when to use it, how do you draw a boundary and then use it. So it's very much practical and skills-based.
Good.
And the last thing is, if you need a therapist, we also make sure that everybody in the program does have that support. So right now, a lot of this is optional. We're moving towards a place where it's this integrative group where you have people that you can talk to, you have a physician who can actually give you clarity on how to move forward.
Wow.
It can be reimbursed by insurance. Dana came to one of our groups, and I guess she speaks for herself.
Yeah.
But, and we do it with a lot of care. And I think anyone who joins, even our like orientations,
Nice.
it's really fun. We make it jovial. It's about laughter. It's about enjoying, and it's about education and learning and putting the skills in.
That's amazing.
Fantastic. Look, I know you're going to leave in a minute, but Kelly asked a very important question. Can we have a look at that? Because I think this would be one of the keys for recovery, really, to just to start yourself. Because you don't have to ask anyone else. You can just do it in the privacy of your own home, or even in the car if you've got a lot of stuff going on at home, or wherever. And actually, meditation is something you can do in micro things as well. Even if you've got a very stressful job, you can actually shut the door of your office and just do your breathing. And even once you become a meditator, you can actually do a 5-minute meditation between seeing clients or whatever, and then your body is reconnected, and you're able to
excellent.
Your mind is clear. So would you mind answering Kelly's question, please?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Kelly, great question. For me, it's a mix of different things. So I actually try and do what I'm feeling in the moment. But I like to cycle through something which I call embodiment. So doing some self-talk, speaking to my parts, sending love to different parts of mine. If you want to look that up, search embodiment on Insight Timer from, I'm blanking on his name, the IFS founder, Richard Schwartz. So search Dick Schwartz, IFS, and you'll find a really wonderful practice that I personally love.
Nice.
And I like to do a lot of energy work also. So I like to do a lot of affirmations, and kind of scanning the body and saying, I really go through 7 different affirmations and take my time to open up my whole body to whatever the day is about to start. But I think, as Rose said very perfectly, find something that works for you. Dr. Les says that he works with a lot of physicians who have no time, and he tells them to do 30 seconds of 4-7-8 breathing between their patients. And that is enough.
That is enough. But first of all, you've got to need a foundation to do that. So you need to have some time to yourself, no matter how busy you are, to give you that foundation. And then once you've got that foundation, you can build on it over and over again. And then your anxiety regulation, because that's what it's about. It's about anxiety regulation. And of course, Porges gives us great examples of that.
Good point. And Rose and I, and Michael Kalinske turned us on to Michael Brown's work with the presence process. And what's beautiful about what Rose and I learned is every time we take a breath, it's an opportunity to become aware and to notice and to focus on the breath. And that's a beautiful opportunity for anybody. Every time I take a breath, I can focus and breathe and bring out that exhalation and calm my parasympathetic nervous system. I just learned that, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hate to say goodbye. We'll just have to have you back because, Rose and I are going to be here for a long, long time. You know that. So we'll definitely have you back. Maybe with your band.
We can do
just quickly give us an idea of your, because on your little bio, we've got this lovely thing about your music. And we're going to have a guest talking about music and how important music is to our vasovagal system. Yeah. Because as humans, we're actually tuned in to that and the vibration that goes through our body with music. So just tell us a little bit about that if you can for a few moments.
We have a few minutes.
Yeah, sure. So I got together with a few really good friends, and we play a mix of Indian and American music. So we all grew up in America, but we're of Indian descent.
Wow.
And so at home, we would hear one type of music. And then when we go to school, we'd hear something else. And it was this kind of dual identity that we had to express ourselves in some way. So we got together, we started to play shows in San Francisco, and actually right now are working on an album that we're trying to put out on Spotify and Apple, like pretty soon. So
wow,
fingers, a dream of mine to do that. But yeah, music is very powerful.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so
Arun,
much. What Rose?
Thanks, Arun. Thank you so much. It's really been great. Anyone who has any comments, we can pass them on to Arun, or you can check out the Menda Health program. Yeah,
sounds
that's
amazing.
there. Yeah.
So we'll see you again soon. We'll bring you back soon.
I got lots more stories to tell.
Good.
So
good care.
All right.
Thank you, Rose.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Bye.
Okay, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So we're going to say goodbye, but I'm going to say goodbye. And then I'm